Hey beauties, it's Riri. If you're new here, I'm an over 40 lover of all things beauty, and I really love showcasing indie brands here on my channel. If that sounds like your cup of tea, then please consider subscribing and giving the video a thumbs up. It really does help me a lot. If you stick around and you want more, tap the notification bell so you're notified of every future video. We're going to dive in quickly. This is number 3 of our palette declutter series. We have 27 palettes today since I miscounted the first 2 times. If you're new here, I'm sorry, it's a shit show around here, but we're not a shit show. We're gonna dive in. The preface is for me to really just not keep things around that I don't remember I have, first of all, and that I know that I'm gonna use consistently. So first up, we have the ABH Sultry palette. This is definitely a tried and true favorite for me. I have used this for many a bridal makeup. I love the color story. I think that it's romantic. You can also go quite smoky with it. I like that it goes from light to dark. Let me swatch maybe the black for you, which is called Noir. And I will swatch Rose Quartz for you. So Noir, as you can see, is very, very black, like a very inky black, which I really, really love. It blends out well. I have nothing to say, nothing negative to say about this palette. So, phenomenal palette. I think I am gonna go ahead and declutter it just because I don't reach for it all too often. And I know that I have others that I prefer more. It's a beautiful palette nonetheless, but we're gonna go ahead and declutter. Next up, we have my favorite ABH, even though I do love the Nouveau one. My favorite ABH palette ever. It is the ABH Jackie Aina palette. Love, 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 love. This is a fantastic color story. As you can see, I've used it a ton of times. Quite richly pigmented, lasts all day on the lids. I'm going to swatch Lituation and Ginger for you. And because I do have a preference for this particular palette, it just has that richness that I love and that depth that I love. I love the little pops of purple and stuff in here. I'm definitely going to keep this one versus the Sultry. If you got your hands on this, let me know what you think about it. The packaging, the longevity, everything about it. Love it. Keeping. 100% keeping. Next up is one of the biggest surprises for me. If there was a video where I was like, shit, that surprised me, it was this. I got it in my BoxyCharm, I think, or my Ipsy. It is the Item Beauty In My Element eyeshadow palette. And even though I only used it twice, I used it once with you guys and then once on my own, I was freaking blown away, you guys. The freaking mattes in here are so incredibly buttery and creamy. The metallic formula is super buttery and super smooth. Rich, bold, intense pigment. They lasted all day on the lids. I cannot speak highly enough of this little palette. Like, this is the little palette that could, okay? It's also quite affordable. Even when I did my unboxing, I looked at the price and I think it's like $20 retail. If you're on the hunt and this is like your kind of preferred color story, I say run, don't walk. 100% keeping. Love. Next up is the Laura Lee Los Angeles Nudie number 2. I bought this because I do have the Nudie Patootie and I really like it. She has wonderful quality. And everybody was like, it's different enough that you should get both. So I got this one. And have I tried it yet? No, I haven't. So for that reason and that reason only, I mean, you can still, I've never used it, the film's still on it. For that reason and that reason only, I am going to go ahead and pass it along. I am going to go ahead and declutter it. I just know, you know, if I have not used it yet, I have the other one. I have more neutral leaning palettes. So we're also going to go ahead and declutter this one as well. Next up is my ABH Modern Renaissance. This is my second of the Modern Renaissance palettes. This is what it looks like. As you can see, because it's this kind of weird brushed, like felty type of material, if you get any makeup on it, it literally just looks like shit. This is another one that I've used and abused and absolutely loved. I think I'm also going to hold on to this one. OG, classic, favorite. It's great. It's great quality. Next up is the Laura Lee Los Angeles Nudie Patootie palette. This is the full size to this one right here, and this was the original one from her. I feel like she is such an underrated brand. She's an indie brand. Y'all know I love indie brands. The only thing I don't like is the length. Like, it's quite long. Like, here's the ABH. That, I mean, it's considerably larger. But she has fantastic quality. Her highlight palette that I have, this right here is fantastic. The liquid lipsticks are great. I will swatch Au Naturel for you and the shade Babe. She doesn't have like the most in your face metallic or shimmer formula. Not everybody has to have that. I understand that. But they're quite long lasting, and the mattes are so creamy and very smooth, very buttery. Beautiful, beautiful quality. Definitely going to hold on to this one, even though now that I have this one, I need to really pay attention because this is definitely a little bit more neutral leaning. The Jackie Aina also has a little bit more neutrals. So moving forward, seeing this, again, I'm trying to really minimize my collection, you guys. I'm going to start paying attention to palettes that are kind of overly neutral, especially if it's not, more warm leaning. So I'm a little nervous. We're going to see how we go, though. Next up is the Gourmand Girls C'est l'Amour palette. This was her Valentine launch. This is what it looks like. This is my least favorite Gourmand Girls palette. I really thought that the mattes were a little bit drier in this one. I even mentioned that in my video. Overall, though, I really love her quality. I typically love everything that she does. And it wasn't that they weren't pigmented or beautiful. They were just very, very dry, in my opinione. So for that reason, and for that reason alone, I'm going to go ahead and gift this to a friend. This was gifted to me in PR, so of course we're not going to sell it. So solely for that reason, I am going to go ahead and pass that one along. Next up is another indie brand, and a lot of these are indie brands. Literally Los Angeles, of course, Gourmand Girls, and Wednesday Cosmetics. This is the Blood Moon palette from Wednesday Cosmetics. And there is our color story. Definitely more kind of moody, very rich jewel tones. I also think, solely because I don't use these colors all the time, I am also going to pass this along. I did want to show you guys the shade Transcendence right here. It is this beautiful silver toned shade. It is absolutely stunning. It is beautiful, especially on the lids. Very, very high shine and almost like glass once it is applied to the lids. Absolutely gorgeous. And most of what I have that I will be showing to you guys now in the declutter, I've done looks for. So all you have to do is type in The Brutally Honest Beauty and then the name of the palette. But again, I'm trying to really keep my collection very small, very condensed, and using things that I know I'm going to use consistently. And I want to know what I have. I want to enjoy what I have, you guys. But beautiful quality, long lasting on the lids, rich in pigment. It's a beautiful, beautiful palette. I don't need it. Next up is another one that was not disappointing because it's great quality. I was only a little bit let down because I anticipated like the best of the best I've ever tried, blowing my socks off because of the way that it was hyped up. But it's the Il Makiage and the Kathleen Lights Disco Fox palette. The packaging, 10 out of 10. They killed it. I really do like the color story. Again, we're leaning a little bit more neutral here. But it's a good palette. It's a great palette. But it didn't knock my socks off like I anticipated it would. And it was a $70-something palette. I think solely for that reason, just because it was so expensive, was the only reason that I was like a little bit let down. I've used it a few times since then. It's not that it's bad quality at all. I'm going to hold on to it. I think it is a beautiful palette, and it's a great quality palette. It just, it wasn't worth $75 in my opinion. But I am going to keep it. It is good quality, and I really do like it. Next up is the Too Faced Born This Way, the Natural Nudes palette. And I think they just launched a newer version of this, but I liked the premise of this, going like fair, light, medium, and then into deep. Because I have so many that are, leaning quite neutral now, and I'm seeing that, I am going to go ahead and pass this one along. Next up, this was such a great find for me. I think I got it summer before last, I think. And I used it so much. It's the Milani Gilded Getaway, and it looks like a cute little bus. I think it is so freaking cute. I used it a ton. I really, really love this. As much as I love it, and I hope I don't regret this, I think I'm going to go ahead and declutter this one as well. I might change my mind on this. I'll put this in a maybe pile. We'll put it in a maybe pile. Next up is my Jouer Ultra Full Eyeshadow Palette. And that is what the back looks like. I do have a discount code with Jouer. It is the Brutally Honest Beauty for 15% off. They have been one of my favorite brands for a very, very long time. Even all the way back to like 2016, 17, 18. The Jouer Essential Lip Enhancer has been one of my holy grail products of life. Their highlighters, they can do no wrong in my eyes. But it is a full shimmer palette, and one of the very first like full shimmer palettes that I ever got. I think they are phenomenal quality. I really like this palette. I love this duochrome right here. That's like a tealy sapphire to purple. So freaking stunning. I'm gonna hold on to this. I don't have a whole lot just because that's typically not my vibe. I normally like a mostly matte, you know, palette with a little pop of shimmers, but there's just something about this where I can have this and then any other kind of like neutral leaning palette, and it's gonna work, and it's gonna be magical, and it's gonna do beautiful things, and it's gonna transform that palette, and I just love it, so I'm gonna keep it. I'm not getting rid of very much, am I? Moving on. Next up is, I'm pretty sure, my favorite palette ever from Glamlight. It is the Dirty Martini palette. They are, of course, another indie brand. I love greens, if you guys know. I love grunge, I love depth, I love earthiness, I love it all. I love this palette. I really love the looks that I did with the palette. They have one of the best, their matte formula, fantastic. Very buttery, very pigmented, they last a long time on the lids. But to me, and not taking away from the mattes, but their metallic formula, their shimmer formula is, in my opinion, where they shine. It's delicious, okay? It is a wonderful formula. Fantastic. I'm definitely holding on to this. I know I have a lot of more kind of green leaning palettes. That's going to be another one, kind of like the more neutral or warm neutral palettes. That's going to be hard for me to kind of condense down. But I'm going to work my best to try to do that. And I'm keeping this. Next up is another Glamlight palette. I love their theming too. I love their packaging and stuff like that. It can be a little bulky, and I know that's a turn off for some people, but I don't mind it. It depends on how you store your products though. But this is the chocolate donut palette from them. Also more, you know, warm tone leaning, neutral leaning. Do I need this based off of everything else that I have kept? I love this. Went very rich though, very dark, very chocolatey, very espresso. I will do I will swatch a couple for you, white chocolate and double chocolate. I mean, they have a beautiful formula, you guys. Beautiful formula. I think, though, I've kept enough neutrals, but I really love their formula. Oh, I don't know. See, I don't want to have too many maybes. Let me open this one up again. We have greens. We've got some really rich, yummy browns and neutrals in here. We've kept a few. I'm going to keep Glamlight, just because I do like the formula more than I like the Milani. This is a good palette, but I'm going to keep that one and we'll declutter this one. Final answer. Next up is the very first product that I ever tried from Cleona, and it blew my socks off. I did several looks with this. I love this palette so much. They're pricey. They're an indie brand based in Canada, I do believe, but in my opinion, it's worth it. But it was the Dragon Fruit palette with Cleona and Emily Violet Marie. There is our packaging. It was a hard plastic. And there is our palette. Again, all shimmers, which typically you guys know is not my vibe. But, oh, they're so beautiful. Like this bubble shade. I'm for sure going to show you this bubble shade. It has so much glitter and sparkle. And some of these, they have like a little bit of a more satin-esque quality to them. Some of them are a little bit more high shine and fold. Some of them have a lot of glitter to them. Some have a little bit more texture. I love them. I mean, you can see it's so bright and glass-like and reflective that my light is like literally trying to just wash it out. It is stunning. Flip to it is absolutely stunning. Yeah, definitely keeping. Hopefully going into the new year, I get to try a little bit more from them. I really, again, I'm just trying to, you know, I am on a no-buy. I'm trying to be very mindful about what I purchase. But if they come out with another palette, I feel like you get the most bang for your buck with a palette. I say jump. So definitely keeping that one. Next up is another Glamlight palette. This is the Glamlight Pizza palette, the Veggie Lovers. This, again, is a little bit more green leaning. I think because I have the other one, and I know I have other palettes with greens in them, I am going to go ahead and declutter this one. But again, they just have phenomenal quality, you guys. They are fantastic. I think Glamlight, finally, I feel like they're getting kind of the recognition that they deserve, because they kill it. They kill it every single freaking time. So we'll go ahead and declutter the pizza palette as well. All right, look, y'all, we're rocking and rolling through this one. I'm trying to keep these videos under 35 minutes. I'm trying. I'm trying my best. Next up is the Makeup Revolution and the Nightmare Before Christmas eyeshadow palette. And of course, this is one of my all-time favorite movies, so that is why I got this. I don't feel like they have the greatest of quality. I did only use this one time. It still basically looks brand new, aside from the few shades that I did use, as you can see. So we're going to go ahead and pass that along as well. Next up is the Certify Dream Without Fear, Love Without Limits, the Affinity 2 palette. I actually got this from Kate in one of our first swaps, and I still have not used it, you guys. And I wanted this palette so damn bad. And I know if I have not used it, I'm probably not going to. And there are also, you know, other palettes that I have that are more kind of green grungy. I have some that have a little bit more blues and purples and stuff in them. So just because I don't want to swatch it, I know that I'm probably not going to use it, even though I'm insanely grateful for it. I am going to go ahead and pass it along. Next up is my ColourPop Riri palette. They have the Build Your Own palette on ColourPop. You can do eyeshadows, you can do powders, highlighters, bronzers, whatever you want to do. So this is the layout that I had come up with. I like to have my neutrals, I like to have my warm tones. Of course, I love my green, little pops of orange, some depth, of course, and then a couple of highlighting type shades or like inner corner or shimmer shades. We have a powder and we have a highlighter. As much as I love this, I've really only used just a few of the shadows like one time. So I think because it still has a lot of love left to give, we're also going to declutter that as well. Next up is the Gourmand Girls Spectra palette, and this is what it looks like. A little bit more bold, a little bit more colorful, a little bit more rich in tone. I like that it has a lot of depth to it, but I know I'm not going to reach for it, so I'm going to go ahead and pass that one along as well. Next up, I have this itty bitty little baby right here. This is the Jouer Mini Dip Matte and Full Shimmer Eyeshadow Palette. Solely because it doesn't offer a lot of depth, it's quite light, I am going to pass it along. Next up is the Ciate London, the Velvet Palette. I recently showcased this with you guys, and I was actually pretty shocked because I did only use the mattes in here, and then I dinged up this shade when I was demoing it for you guys, my bad. The mattes in here blew my freaking socks off. Beautiful, beautiful quality on the mattes. I mean, phenomenal. Very, very smooth, very, very buttery. They lasted a very long time on the lids. I really liked the overall look. I can't say enough about it. I'm gonna have to debate on this one because I really love the freaking quality, but I also know that I have a lot. I think I'm also going to put this in the maybe pile just for now. Next up is another indie brand. I don't think they're a brand anymore, or they were rebranding. I'm not sure, but it's Midas Cosmetics High Times, like, you know, High Times palette. And I only used this twice, but it's such a beautiful little palette. Of course, my vibes, grungy, you know, oranges, you know, mustard tones, greens. Because I have enough, and because I have the Glam Light one, and I just feel like the quality for Glam Light is a little bit better. Not that this is bad at all. It's phenomenal quality. I just have a preference for the Glam Light quality. So solely for that reason, I am going to go ahead and declutter this one. Next up is the Complex Culture, which is like Ipsy's in-house type of brand. I don't actually know what this is called. Full-Time Eyeshadow Palette. I have plenty like this. It is very neutral and also lacks depth in my opinion. And of course I've kept plenty that have neutral tones in them, so I'm also going to declutter this. Next up we have the BH Cosmetics Let That Shit Go, and it's also a more green leaning, more grungy leaning palette. I've never used it. We don't need it. We have enough. I'm going to declutter that one as well. And last in this pile, y'all, we did it. We did it. Is the Clarity Cosmetics Magic Lamp palette. I personally did not like this palette. I did a video with you guys when I first got this, and I tested multiple ways of using this. Tested it with and without primer, different primers, a sticky primer, my, you know, regular primer. I just could not get it to work for me personally. I do know that since this time they have kind of reformulated their items. I never like unfollowed them or anything like that. Especially with an indie brand, I'm going to give them some grace. I think that they deserve that. They're not a mainstream, you know, brand putting out 100,000 units of something. So I understand that they have to kind of go in and tweak things. It was not my preferred formula. That is all. I really loved the color story. I thought that they had a little bit of depth here. Some of the shimmer shades were very beautiful. I will say that. It just didn't work for me. And they were so incredibly soft in the pan that it was really, really hard to even pick up enough product on my brush to be able to use. Like, they were almost there. The sequin nature of this shade, the Magic Carpet that I showed you guys, I mean, look how beautiful that is. Look how stunning that is. But they're so freaking loose in the pan. I'm going to show you. I'm just going to show you. I'm probably going to make a freaking mess. And I have. You can barely touch these, you guys. And you're going to get a lot of kick up. You're going to get a lot of, I'm tapping as light as I can possibly tap, you guys. And it's flaking off, completely flaking off everywhere. And I don't like that. They're not well pressed. They're very, very loose. I think they were right there. They were on the cusp. If you've tried them recently, since they've kind of rebranded or like reformulated, please let me know. Their theming, their packaging, the way that they set their palettes up, their color stories, the layouts, all of that I'm fine with. All of that. I mean, this, when I saw it, I was like, bitch, I need that. That is cute. It was a miss. It was a miss for me personally. And solely because of that, that's also a declutter. Of course, I'm going to add everything up. We're going to pop some numbers right here. I think I did pretty good. It might be close to half and half again, you guys. I might have got rid of more this time. And we kept it on 35 minutes. Look, y'all. We're nearing the end of Christmas. And I'm a tired mofo right now. But I hope that this has been entertaining for you. I love you, beauties. Stay happy, healthy, and safe. And of course, be your own best beautiful. Bye, beauties.